Logan, you know, I am the host of Wrestlemania and could make Seth freaking Rollins versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania happen.
You know what everybody's talking about? John Cena. WrestleMania is in 62 days. Roman, that might just be 62 days for you. It is 62 days for the rest of my life.
Don't call it a comeback.
Hey, Shek, WrestleMania is back. What you think about that?
Well, I think
it doesn't matter what you think.
Okay, I smell what you're cooking. WrestleMania 39 goes down this weekend in LA. Let's get into all the juicy comeback stories on the card.
Also, Cinderella comebacks are taking over March Madness, and baseball is back. We'll get to all that in the check down. From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Okay, Shek, let's get into our WrestleMania preview.
Done and done 5-0. WrestleMania is headlined by the return of the prodigal son, Royal Rumble winner Cody Rhodes, challenging Roman Reigns for his undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship.
After Solo finds out that he's not ready at WrestleMania on April 2nd, your boy Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, will find out the same thing. He is not ready either.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are making their comeback as a team. They were best friends, then mortal enemies, and now they're friends again. And they're challenging the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team title. Shazier, you can pick any teammate you've ever had. Who would make the best tag team partner in the ring?
So if I could pick any teammate I ever had, you know, I feel the one that knows me the best is my best friend, Jerome Howard, who I went to high school with. But for wrestling purposes, the best teammate, for sure, not even close, is my dog, Shek and Vince Williams. Me and him would take down anybody in the wrestling ring.
All right, bet. I'll take Chris Boswell. He'll kick you both in the head, and then we'll see who comes out with the belt in the squared circle. The new kid on the block, Logan Paul, is coming back to his second WrestleMania, this time to settle a feud with Seth freaking Rollins. And, of course, the champ is here. That's right, John Cena is making a comeback all the way from Hollywood to provide a little attitude adjustment to upstart Austin Theory when they battle for the United States Championship.
Remember this moment. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. At WrestleMania for the United States Championship, it's going to be Austin Theory versus John Cena.
Here now to answer all of our questions about WrestleMania 39, WWE Premium Live Event pre-show panelist, host of the Cheap Heat podcast on The Ringer, and the one-time WWE 24/7 champ, sweet Peter Rosenberg. What a pleasure to have you on Don't Call It a Comeback, man.
Guys, I am incredibly honored to be here and excited. This is both my best and busiest week of the year. It's a crazy time. It's like Christmas on crack for me.
Appreciate you, Peter. So, man, I'm going to get right into this. So, you know, Cody Rhodes has made his way back to the WWE after 6 years away. During that time, he helped launch AEW, which is the biggest rivalry for WWE. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's very surprising, or is it surprising that he made it back up to the top of WWE so quickly?
So for me, yes, I often think about that. Like when I'm watching an episode right now of WWE television and Cody's on and he's such a big deal and he's in the main event, I constantly feel like, I can't believe we're here now. And it just dawned on me that basically it all kind of happened, you know, during the pandemic. He was still top of the AEW card. And now you just blink and he's at the top of the WWE card. And it's particularly remarkable because he was never at the top of the WWE card prior to leaving and starting this whole new thing and this journey of his life, whenever it started, like 2018, going to the Indies, starting AEW, took AEW to, I think, heights that no one expected as quickly as it went. He was the man. And now here he is, because Roman Reigns' amazing run that he's had as champion all started in the first summer of the pandemic, which at that point, Cody's sitting there. You're never imagining, I bet I'm going to get Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes one day. You're not even thinking it's like a dream a little kid would have, and everyone's like, I wonder if we'll get Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. You didn't think it would ever happen. And here we are, it's WrestleMania. And my prediction would be Cody Rhodes walks out of WrestleMania as the undisputed Universal Champion.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
All right, let's continue on this one because the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns rivalry got very personal very quickly after the Royal Rumble. Explain to everybody, I love my sports history, WWE included, and Dusty Rhodes, a legend of wrestling, of course, is involved in this. Explain the connection between the wrestlers and Dusty Rhodes, who is Cody's father.
Yeah, so Cody's dad, Dusty Rhodes, of course, Ryan, I'm sure you remember him, one of the coolest wrestlers of all time. The son of a plumber, just a regular guy who related to regular people. And then his career when he was retired, he became one of the main, most influential talent developers at the WWE Performance Center, where he was essentially grooming people and making them future superstars. And he did that with Roman Reigns, Cody's opponent at WrestleMania. So now you have this amazing story where Dusty was actually hands off on Cody's career. He really sort of left Cody to figuring things out on his own. Meanwhile, he nurtured and developed his opponent at WrestleMania. And now, of course, Dusty is no longer with us. And Roman is able to sort of poke at Cody. Maybe the most memorable line he's had during this run up to WrestleMania is he said to Cody, you know what your dad used to say about you? And long dramatic pause. Nothing. He didn't say anything about you. And it's just a really great way to sort of get after this Cody Rhodes, this lovable Cody Rhodes who the fans are rooting for. And Dusty really is connected to basically everyone of a certain age. Everyone who's at the age of being on top in WWE right now, most all of them were under the tutelage of Dusty Rhodes.
It's very Gladiator, the first act of Gladiator. It follows that storyline. The biological son versus the preferred, who I wish my son was, right?
Oh, right.
So to me, it's just even talking about that, how does Dusty not have any involvement in Cody's career? I just need to learn more about this.
Yeah, I interviewed him a few months back, and you can find it on YouTube, and he got into it. Yeah, it just seemed like, his brother, who's a famous wrestler, Goldust, was helpful in his career. His dad was just relatively hands-off, wanted him to have to sort of figure it out himself. He didn't, especially because when and Cody still moved along very quickly and got to WWE very young, and just wanted him to have to navigate. It's a different relationship because when you're looking out for your son, you can be the kind of dad who wants to really be hands-on on everything and protect them, or you could be the one who's like, nah, I need him to learn how to swim the way I did. I can't have his coworkers think that he's soft and it's his famous dad. So I think Dusty's attitude was let him swim on his own. Meanwhile, Dusty's job was to sort of help all these other people. And, right. And he was like a professional resource for everybody else. And listen, I'm sure Cody certainly asked his dad a question or two, but he didn't want to feel, I don't think either of them wanted to feel like there was something, nepotism was a real factor.
No Nepo babies, right?
That's right. That's not in right now.
Yeah, it was crazy. I actually go through that right now. It's do I want to be the dad that's very hands-on and just oh, it's all right, you can get through it, and all right, am I the dad that's hey man, you have to get out the mud like I did, and I go through that all the time. So it's really funny to hear that when it comes to, Dusty and Cody.
Are you Pittsburgh based still, Ryan?
Yeah, I still live here.
Yes. So like the idea of like at every time you're at a football game, here comes Ryan Shazier, Pittsburgh legend now coming on to help your kid. It's almost like in certain ways you can worry about applying pressure, undue pressure to your kid because they're your kid.
Yeah, 100%. So it's just like if you teach them at the beginning, hey, you have to get it out of the mud. Then as they get older, you understand it, but then also they might grow some resentment to you too. So I just try to figure out. Yeah, I try to figure out what's
just don't wind up like Anakin Skywalker. That's all I'm saying, because that was a nasty relationship.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I don't think it's gonna be like that.
Don't call it a comeback.
Hey, so man. What's very common about the bloodline is that they're finding enemies everywhere they go. Do you think that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens could take the title from the 2-year run that the Usos have?
Yeah, that tag match, we were just talking about it on my podcast. It's going to be very interesting because I think that, to me, it's all or nothing for the bloodline. They either retain all their titles and we move into another year with the bloodline on top, or everything is gone. And that's just my personal hunch. And I'm going with everything is gone. And I'm going with the Usos losing to KO and Sami. It's been such a long story arc for Sami, his relationship with Kevin Owens, and they have such a long history, plus the bloodline. I just think it's time. I think no one comes away unscathed from the bloodline. I don't know how much more you could hope to get from this, as we're coming up on 3 years of just complete dominance ever since we saw Roman Reigns sitting next to Paul Heyman on that episode of SmackDown a few years ago. It's been complete dominance, and I just have a hunch it's all coming to an end, and we're going to see KO and Sami soaking in the love from that SoFi Stadium crowd, and the same with Cody Rhodes. And listen, I'd be happy to be wrong, by the way. It's one of the very rare circumstances where I think the dominant champion winning would be a really big surprise to the audience. But that's how I feel about WrestleMania this week.
There's nothing better to me in sports when you have two guys or two teams at the top of their respective games colliding here. So let's talk about The Rock. It does seem to me the last few years, the entire Roman Reigns head of the table narrative is tracking towards an eventual match. Now, we never saw Staubach v. Stabler in a Super Bowl, but we did see Frazier Ali. We saw the Lakers and Celtics go back and forth, but we didn't get to see Aaron Rodgers at his peak versus Tom Brady at his peak in a Super Bowl. Do you think we're ever going to see The Rock and Reigns tangle in the squared circle?
Well, remember, the one thing we did see that you can always say we saw in terms of like people from almost different generations colliding in sports, we did get The Rock and Hulk Hogan. And it was awesome. I mean, WrestleMania 18, if you're of the age, like a lot of people I meet who loved Hulk Hogan as a kid, but you were out of wrestling by the time WrestleMania 18 came along, I could not any more strongly recommend going back to WrestleMania 18. You haven't seen it?
I haven't. Full disclosure, yes. I went to the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh for WrestleMania 3 to watch it on closed caption because, of course, it was in the Pontiac Silverdome. But I went there and the house was packed, the Igloo, to watch that. That was, to me, the high point of WWE. In fact, pro wrestling fandom was what. That's where I peaked with the undercard. Macho Man v. Dragon is the greatest head-to-head I've ever seen, but I do have to check out 18 then.
So yeah, 3 is my favorite of all time.
Oh,
and I think it is for most people of this generation. But I'll tell you what, when
of that generation,
yeah, the old fogey generation, Ryan, you're a young man. But then, man, 18, Hogan and Rock, in front of the most electric crowd in Toronto, it was amazing. And for that, I've always assumed we'll get the same with The Rock. The Rock and Roman sort of has to happen. I mean, if you were to look at it, The Rock is probably close to the same age now that Hogan was when he went against The Rock in 18. And I would guess Roman Reigns is probably slightly older than Rocky was in that match versus Hogan. But to me, it has to happen. The only weird thing is if they couldn't happen this year for whatever reason, whether it's a physical issue, a business, a personal issue, whatever it is it going to happen next year at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia? It seems like sort of an odd spot to do it. It seems like this would be the moment. Then again, if win, lose, or draw at the end of WrestleMania night 2, this Sunday night, if Roman's either laying there as the loser or standing there as the winner, and The Rock were to come out on that stage and do anything, they could set the table for an entire year like they did previously with The Rock and John Cena. And basically, when they have that moment, oh my God, 1 year from now, we're getting The Rock and Roman Reigns. And to me, that's fantastic business. If it never happens, though, I will be bummed out. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I definitely would be disappointed.
No, so the thing that's crazy to me, and I have two questions with this. So if Cody Rhodes beats Roman and then The Rock comes out there, do you still think we'll get a Rock versus Roman, or is it a Rock versus Cody Rhodes now?
No, I think it would still be Rock versus Roman. And this is what I like about the idea. If everybody loses their titles, or honestly, even if just Roman loses his title, and The Rock comes out with a message like, I guess you weren't the head of the table after all, were you?
Yeah.
I think that still works great with Cody on top. And what you would do is, I presume, normally you want to end Mania with the new champion standing there in the ring, soaking it all in. But I could see a world in which Cody soaks it all in, takes his walk up the ramp. The Rock comes out, they have a respectful handshake or something, and then Roman, who's still laid out in the ring, eyes wide, like, oh my God. And that's where we go off TV. And with all due respect to Cody, I still think just doing good business would say, as big as the title win would be, setting up The Rock and Roman for next year would be even bigger. And then my guess is Roman goes away for a little while. Cody gets to really soak in being champion because he doesn't have Roman sitting there in his shadows. He gets into whatever's next for him. My assumption is that means him becoming a bad guy at some point soon. Because Ryan, this guy can only be bad, like so good for so long.
Right.
This guy's so good. Like, Dave, this guy's giving out wrestling belts to weight belts to every kid in the crowd. He's talking about his beloved father. He's like such a good guy. He's got the dyed blonde hair, the beautiful wife, the dogs. He's perfect. He has to become a bad guy.
Listen, the three and a half decades later, I am still not over the heel turn. I fear that Reigns v. Rock could divide the wrestling community in a way we haven't seen since Andre the Giant, right there in Piper's Pit, turned heel on the Hulkster, who did everything for it. Did everything for the Giant. And what he got in return was his crucifix ripped off his chest, a trophy destroyed. And is that where we're tracking? That's my concern as a man of peace.
Well, listen, I don't know if Cody were to turn, it probably would have that effect on little kids of this generation. Because when you go to the shows, man, the little kids are there for Cody, and him turning would be rough, but I just feel like it's what has to happen.
So the question I have to ask you, like, obviously we all love this. This is great sports entertainment, but it's also the people that are writing these scripts are awesome at what they do. Mm-hmm. Do you think these guys should ever be put up for Emmy awards for the dramatic performances that they have each match?
Listen, I think it's crazy. I know it's something WWE would love to have happen. And I think it's crazy that it's never been in consideration. If you were to ask me, I watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of premium shows. If it's a big HBO, Showtime, Hulu, one of the big, I'm watching the big shows for the most part. And I have a lot of performers this year who I adore. I would put Jey Uso's performance in the Bloodline this year up there with anyone. Yeah. He really was fantastic. And how cool it would be to have Jey Uso get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I guess in some ways it would really be the final step towards admitting that wrestling is all entertainment. You know, I think seeing that person nominated and sitting there in the crowd smiling like, oh, yeah, that's me. I perform as the character Jey Uso, but I also am him. It would be sort of the final ripping off of the Band-Aid about what sports entertainment is. But yes, I absolutely believe that writers and particularly talent should be nominated like anybody else who's performing on TV every single week. 3-4 nights a week, plus doing an incredible job athletically performing these athletic feats that almost no one on earth could accomplish. Yeah, absolutely. I do.
I don't know what you guys are talking about the last couple of minutes there. I'm just going to ignore. I'm going to ignore all of it. I'm still shook by what happened to the Phoenix Suns gorilla when he's just a man. You know, that was terrible what happened to him. But continue. You know what? In fact, I'll pick it up here because I do want to talk about a guy who's kind of broken out social media wise and now has dipped into these affairs. Logan Paul, a dramatic comeback from his knee injury, eliminating Seth Rollins at Royal Rumble. So far, Paul's only WWE loss was at the hands of Roman Reigns, the Universal Champ. How impressive has Paul been to start this career he's got going?
I think incredibly impressive. You know, I can't stop heaping praise on the kid, and it really seems to irritate people. He's in a great situation where people both hate his character, and a lot of people just hate him. And it's really hate in sort of the modern sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like hate on as opposed to hate at. He gets a lot of hate heaped on him. And listen, I get it. He has some controversies in his past. I barely know this man. I've had one real conversation with him. He is a lovely dude in my limited experience, and he seems incredibly serious and committed. First time I ever saw him backstage, he was about to cut a promo. This is like 6 months ago. I forget which event it was. And to see him, how he was operating backstage showed me someone who's very serious and like very, very into this. Then you look at the natural, just physical talent. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw his fight with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, exhibition, out of shape, old Floyd Mayweather, whatever version. That's Floyd Mayweather. And Logan Paul is a physical specimen. I mean, he can do a lot of things well. And when you see him physically in person, you're like, oh, this guy is an athlete. You may call him a vlogger or a YouTuber or whatever the hell, Viner, or whatever path he's taken to get here. I look at myself and I look up at Logan, and I quite literally look up at Logan Paul and I go, okay, you are a pro athlete. And he's really, really good at it. His moment at the Royal Rumble, where him and Ricochet collided in midair across the ring.
Crazy. Yeah,
that was bro. And so I asked him, I was like, you got to tell me, how do you figure out how to do that? They didn't even do it in advance. All they worked on was trying to look at each other and time the jump up to the top rope. If you haven't seen it, essentially they were on opposite sides of the ring. Each one jumped up on the top rope and then sprung themselves at each other, and they met and basically had like a crossbody in air.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, they didn't even. So I was like, oh, wow, you're that good. And I thought he was amazing against Roman. I thought that match was fantastic at Clash of the Castle. So I think Logan could do really well as long as he has the time to commit, because, you know, he has his prime beverage. And he has the drink, he has fights, he has his brother, he has the social media. If he can commit the time, man, I think he could go as far as an outsider. You know, Pat McAfee's been tremendous. Bad Bunny's been great. I would say Logan Paul has more potential than anyone in terms of what his ceiling could be as a WWE performer.
Pete Rose got into the squared circle once. Didn't go well for him. Just being a high-end athlete in another sport ain't enough. But Logan Paul, I'm with you. It's looking good so far.
Yeah, really impressive.
So John Cena is making a comeback to try to win the U.S. Championship versus Austin Theory. You know, the young guy, Austin Theory.
I'm a fan.
What does John have to prove at this point in his career?
I think the only thing John is proving is sort of to himself and to the wrestling WWE universe at large, how much he cares. I don't think he physically has anything left to prove. I mean, some people love John Cena. Some people hate John Cena. If you love John's work, you still love it. If you hate it, you still hate it. But what I think he has done over the last few years is taken those remaining people who either love or hate it, but don't know what his status is all time. Like, what is he? really mean in the big picture, the Mount Rushmore kind of conversation. And I think that's what he's proving, is that like the greats who have preceded him, including The Rock, he doesn't just move on. He may move on, but he's always going to come back because this is his home and this is what he loves. So I think it's more about proving himself as a man and as a human being than it is as a pro wrestler. And I think he's done a really good job. Listen, he's still not on my Mount Rushmore. I don't think he ever will be.
You don't have Super Cena on your Mount Rushmore?
I don't.
Give it to us. Give us your 4, and then I want to hear your 4 best villains ever.
And then, Peter, Shek doesn't know who Super Cena is. Only guys who play 2K know who Super Cena is. So,
well, because Super Cena was Super Cena because of who he was in the ring too. Yeah. There was that period where he was basically a video game character who would just win all the time. Super Cena is part of the reason I don't have him on my Mount Rushmore, because I just was at a period where I was too old to enjoy him winning all the time. Like when I was 8, I loved Hulk Hogan winning all the time. When I was 28 and watching John Cena, I found it annoying that it just seemed like all he did was win. So my Mount Rushmore, it changes day to day. It's pretty safely though. Hogan, Flair, Austin, and then I think The Rock.
I'm about to say there's a name that needs to be on that list. That's taking a little while
and
to
people
get there.
will argue with The Rock because The Rock and Austin were in the company at the same time, flourishing at the same time. And The Rock was a slight number 2 to Austin. So a lot of people say the question is, did you carry your respective company at that time? And my answer to that is that I think The Rock and Austin really carried it together. I really think they did. And they took it to heights that it had really never seen when you think of mainstream appeal. I mean, as popular as Hulk Hogan individually became, the way that The Rock and Austin came together to have every teenager and college-age kid in America talking about pro wrestling, to me, is just unmatched. And, Flair is the real true wrestling fans and wrestler who needs to be there. And then there's so many others that are close that pain me. It pains me to not put Macho Man in. Pains me to not put Brett. I'm sorry, Brock?
What about Brock? Yeah.
No, Brock has become a really interesting one. As we're now up past the point, we're now at 20 years of Brock Lesnar. This isn't, you don't think of him as being that much of a veteran, maybe because he was used sparingly in those years between 2006 and 2010. You didn't really see him. But Brock deserves a place in the conversation as well. The hard thing for Brock is he's only become, to me, really entertaining on the microphone in the last couple of years. Okay. He's now a really entertaining guy up and down. But heel Brock, it was really Paul Heyman talking and Brock beating people up.
Yeah.
But now the modern day Brock Lesnar, man, he's shown an incredible amount of range. So he's a reasonable person to throw out there too. Ryan, do you know who your Mount Rushmore is?
Mine are all young guys. So I because the thing is, I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched wrestling a little bit, but it was almost like I had to sneak and watch it because my mom didn't really want me watching a lot of wrestling because I'm a.
Wait, how old are you again?
I'm 30, so I'm a very aggressive person. You know what I'm saying? So she would just so she was never big on wrestling when me and my brother wrestled around the house or fight around the house. So if I watched it, it was sparingly. So obviously you have to have The Rock, you have to have Stone Cold. Me personally, I'm gonna put Roman in there because Roman he's been a dog for so long. And then to me, you gotta have, probably I'm a big fan of the Edge and stuff like that, man. He was good at his time. So,
listen, Edge is someone who would probably not get thrown in that conversation by most people. But when you really look back at Edge's career, the ascent that he's had from being just a tag team guy to an intercontinental guy to just a guy, the Brood, to then all of a sudden now he spent the last 15 years. I mean, he was retired for a bunch of them, but since now 2005, the Edge has been a top of the card bad guy. You mentioned, Dave, top villains. You could put Edge in the conversation for top villains,
But
when
I might
he
pick
was
John over Edge, though. I don't know. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and obviously John is probably the one you have to take if you're going to do all modern guys.
Yeah.
But John's career, everybody needs that guy. And Edge was that guy for John for a very long time.
That's right. Ali had his Frazier. You got to have that sort of thing. I mean, I think Piper is one of the most charismatic, funniest, best. Piper's Pit is where so many great things happen. I loved Kamala, the Ugandan warrior. It wasn't about brawn. He would just put his full weight on you, and that was enough. He would just lay on his foe, and it was end of story. I think the most humiliating way to lose was Jake the Snake putting his snake on you after. I mean, he defeats you, he turns your lights out, and then the indignity of having a giant snake dumped out on you in front of thousands of people. There's nothing worse than that. Coco Beware and Ivan Putski, the Polish Hammer, to go deep dive.
What about King Shay? Doesn't King Shay deserve a little bit of mention when you talk about the greats?
Definitely King Shay deserves some mention in there for sure.
I've heard people talking. I heard people talking in the locker room, like, talking about 2K, and they're like, no, you got to watch for it. You got to watch out for King Shay.
Hey, man, King Shay be winning online, man. So, so for Dave, for you that don't know, I have 2K and wrestling, and I probably beat it in 2 days. I probably beat it in 2 days. Yeah,
with the new one, you beat 23.
Yeah, it's 23 in like 2 days. Yeah, I really love it.
Yo, bro, let me tell you something, Dave. If you don't have any appreciation for this, your man over here is a lunatic to be able to do that. I don't even know if I can win a match in 2K22. I haven't even started playing 23 yet. I find the game to be so beautiful to look at, but as not a true gamer, like my favorite game is the 2K golf.
Yeah, 2K golf is fun too.
It's amazing, but like it's much easier. You don't have to be a true gamer to play the golf. Like you could just play. The fact that you dominate 2K23 WWE like that shows that you have natural ability that goes beyond the football field, because that's some different sort of thing.
So the thing is, we play online as well, and I have some friends. I'm gonna have to give them their credit when the credit's due. I have a friend named Mike and a friend named Case. We go in the ring together, and they might give me a little bit more consistently than I get them. But as anybody else, I've been giving them the business with King Shay, So
could people go find and play the King Shay character if they want to be you in the game too? They can, right?
I would have to upload them to like the 2K community, but I can. Yeah.
You really should. I mean, do something for the people of Pittsburgh, for God's sake.
Boy, that'd be cool. Could we get King Shay to use the 2016 Steelers and control Ryan Shazier in Madden and see who's better? Shazier
so 2K doesn't own Madden. EA owns Madden.
Come on.
All right. I'm just trying to make. I'm a people person. I'm just trying to make a connection.
I think we disrespecting the ladies, because we definitely need to talk about them right now. So there's a lot has changed since Charlotte Flair ripped Ripley's face off last time they fought. Flair won the first time around. Rhea won the rematch in Royal Rumble. Now they're having a rubber match. And, last time I watched SmackDown, they had them a nice little fight when they both was in the same place before WrestleMania. So I want to ask you, what do you think is going to happen in this women's division?
I think Rhea Ripley is going to walk away as champion. I think that it's just her time. It's one of those moments when someone is so on fire. When she first got up. So I saw Rhea in her first WWE match ever in the Mae Young tournament at NXT years ago. And I was like, I think she was 19 years old, 19 or 20. And I was like, oh my God, who is this? I've never seen someone who looks like this, who has the imposing stature, is great in ring, and is this young. Like, what's going on here? When she eventually made it up and and lost to Charlotte at Mania, which was in the Performance Center. It was the Mania in the real prime of COVID. When she then made her move to the main roster after that, all of a sudden she didn't look ready. All of a sudden the person that you saw shining in NXT, there was something not connecting. You could see a lack of confidence in her eyes. It just wasn't there. And then when this Judgment Day thing started, and she partnered up with Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor, there's something just different. And now she is the most on fire female talent in the company. And I think it would kind of be shocking to not give her a title right now and to really bolster her faction Judgment Day even more by putting that title around her waist. So I think it's Rhea time, man. I really do. I think we're gonna have two women's champions. I think Asuka's gonna knock off Bianca Belair also, and I think we're gonna have new faces of the women's division for a little while.
Oh wow.
Shazier, he's made it clear he loves WWE 2K. Peter, you were at the release party with Stone Cold last week. How about a blood connection here? Can Shazier play King Shay, go head to head for this? Can we line this up?
You mean Shazier versus who? Me or Stone Cold?
Shay versus you, or do we want Stone Cold? What's your preference, 5-0? Who would you most want to take on?
I would love to play Stone Cold in wrestling because I damn sure won't be him in real life. Sure won't be him in real life.
Yeah, by the way, that dude is so physically large at this point. Like, I can't even tell you how jacked that man is. I made you think, how are we not getting him at Mania this year? Listen, Ryan,
that was crazy with him and Kevin Owens. That was wild.
Wild. And that was last year at Mania, and it was awesome. I'm just shocked we didn't get Cena and Austin. Like, I'm happy for Austin Theory. I personally would have been even happier for Steve Austin in John Cena in the ring. To me, that would have been an epic, as we all fantasize about, we're going to get Rock and Roman. Man, 2 generations clashing, and Austin and Cena would have been pretty great too.
Yes, man, I would definitely love to, chop it up and learn a little bit more from wrestling from 316, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna have to hit over his own stunner on the game because King Shay has that in his repertoire.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, King Shay has a stunner. Okay.
Yeah, King Shay has a stunner. He has a stunner. He has the rock bottom in his repertoire. And he has the F5 in there too. So,
by the way, all of these moves require just finger button movement I'm not capable of. I'm the guy who still plays like it's Street Fighter 30 years ago. Punch, 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 duck, punch.
Yeah, that's not gonna work over here. Yeah, it's not gonna work over here.
Let's line it up. We have WrestleMania 39 to worry about in the meantime, but on the other side of that, let's see if we can get King Shay against his choosing foe. In the meantime, Peter, dynamite stuff, man. Really fun times. Enjoy the time in Los Angeles. Enjoy all the fanfare. Hope all the celebrities show up there. It's going to be gangbuster stuff.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time, and I hope the Pittsburgh Penguins make the playoffs. Will they hold off? Will they hold this last spot in the playoffs?
We need them to. We need them to.
I think they will, Peter. I think they're in, but I don't want to jinx anything. But
could last Saturday have been the end of the true Caps Penguins rivalry era? I mean, it's been 15 years, guys.
We talk about different generations going head to head in pro wrestling and beyond. We saw Marciano v. Joe Louis, imperfect because they didn't line up in their primes. If you want to talk about the 2 central figures of 21st century NHL saving the sport, those 2 guys are the rare guys individually and combined who not just met expectation, but exceeded it, and the sport has benefited. In fact, survives because of those 2. I don't know if it would have survived the dead puck era without those 2. But yes, let's celebrate those 2. But also, we're keeping an eye on WrestleMania 39 this weekend.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the time.
No, thank you.
All right, man. Later, guys.
Good times with Peter. Thanks again for him joining us today. Next up, Miami advanced to the Final Four with a comeback win over Texas. Can they win their first March Madness championship in Houston?
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Checkdown. I know there's a lot of sports going on, Shazier, but it's MLB opening day this week. What are you most looking forward to this baseball season?
Man, honestly, I'm just looking forward to two teams, the Pirates in Pittsburgh and the Yankees.
What's wrong with you? The two ends of the baseball spectrum?
Yeah, and the reason
Yankees and Pirates?
The reason I'm looking forward to both of these teams are because I want to see if the Pirates are doing what's necessary to start to bump up the ladder. You know,
they're not.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. I think I'm just really looking forward to see if they doing what's necessary to bump up the ladder, to see if we can figure something out. We might not make the playoffs, but just to see if, like, hey, we're competing. And then secondly, I just want to see if the Yankees can actually, you know, finish it. I want to see if they can actually get to the top, go all the way to the World Series, and finish it. You know, they get very close, but recently they have not been getting to the World Series. And I want to see if they can at least get to the World Series. I enjoy watching the Yankees. I enjoy watching Aaron Judge. And obviously they're the front runners every year. I had a great time going to their stadium last year. So I'm really a fan of the Yankees, just watching them just through time. But I also love to see the hometown team. And I want to see if the Pirates and all the young guys that we have there can go to the next step and actually make something happen.
Well, the Yankees are America, but I do dig that you are ultimately going black and gold over red, white, and blue here. Look at the power of those colors. You wore them for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and somehow that has you weeing and ussing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Come on, Shazier, you're better than that. You're worth more than the Pittsburgh Pirates are. Okay, number 2, Texas, led by 13 points over number 5, Miami, with 9 minutes to go in their Elite 8 matchup. But the Canes battled back. Shazier, how far can Miami, which people may or may not know is your region of sports America, how far can the U go in Houston?
To me, it's so crazy because we can realistically have a FAU versus Miami national championship game. And to me, that sounds absolutely crazy. It sounds absolutely crazy. First of all, if anybody said Miami can go to the Final Four this season, I would be like, it's not too far-fetched because Miami has always been the top 3 in the ACC this whole season. So they've been a really good basketball team. And Juan has been playing just really good basketball. But FAU in the Final Four, nobody would have believed that would have happened. And so, to me, I think Miami has what it takes to win the national championship compared to everybody else that's still in the Final Four. So we have Miami, we have FAU, we have San Diego State, and then UConn. The one that we have to worry about is UConn because UConn has a history of winning championships at, being the number 1 seed, the number 3 seed, the number 7 seed, and they're the number 4 seed this year. So this is not too far-fetched for them to win a national championship. And Miami is going against possibly the toughest opponent they're going to have to go against in the semifinals. So I think Miami has what it takes. It's just they have to get through that juggernaut of UConn. But once they go to the other side, I think, man, that last game is, hey, whoever's just playing good basketball that last game.
I mean, listen, I know it is my perennial most curmudgeonly take. I love all sports. I'm obviously watching March Madness like everybody else. But come on, it's been laid bare now. NIL, parity, all of it combining now. Who are these teams? You say nobody picked FAU. Nobody can still name anybody on FAU. Spoiler alert. Everybody we're watching, or 99% of them in the Final Four this weekend, is going to be overplaying in the Euro League or one of the Euro Leagues soon. Omer is a classic 21st century difference maker in college basketball who probably doesn't project to do much in the NBA. But I'm with you, man. He's hard to handle on the offensive glass. I like how they set up here.
I have to ask you a question. What is the word that you just said, and what is the definition of it?
Of what?
Unemergently? What word did you say? What did you say?
I don't even know what word. Unemergently. What?
No, you said my something take. I can't even say the word.
Oh, curmudgeonly. Curmudgeonly.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Snarky old man. I'm down on this. Kids, get off my lawn. That's basically what being a curmudgeon is. I'm good at it.
All right, cool. I've never used that, and it's not in my vocab. So I appreciate the
some people have to achieve a certain age, like get into your 70s or 80s to really achieve curmudgeon status. I am ahead of the curve. I think I was born to be a curmudgeon. I think I was one by about the age of 11 and have been living in those shoes for better or worse as I trek through the big blue marble watching sports all the time. Speaking of old guys, LeBron is back on the court for the Lakers. He said he went to the LeBron James of feet to get back to full strength in time for a late playoff push. Shazier, what are you the LeBron James of? So we now know a foot doctor who is the LeBron James of that trade. What are you the LBJ of?
What am I the LeBron James of? Oh, man. I would say video games, but there are people much better than me in video games. Damn, that's a tough take. I think I'm the LeBron.
Chick-fil-A?
No, I think I'm the LeBron James of making people that are uncomfortable in the situation feel comfortable. I feel like I'm the LeBron James of making people feel wanted and just encouraged and motivated and involved. I think I do a good job of uplifting people, you know, not in like the motivational speaking way, because I'm working on that part, but just, hey, I can talk to a random person. They don't know who I am. And then, hey, now they feel comfortable in the situation. You know, so I think I'm a LeBron James of making people feel comfortable.
Isn't that neat? I guess that's why this show works so neatly, because I'm the yin to that yang. Wherever I am, it'll be a little less comfortable. It'll be a little unpleasant, a little awkward, like who brought the schnook with us? Good. This would be more fun if he weren't here. So, you know, it's nice. It's a nice little puzzle how we fit together there. John Wick Chapter 4 is out now. Shazier, we've spent plenty of time talking about your favorite action heroes. Who are some of the most diabolical action movie villains?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So obviously everybody hates Joffrey, but that's not an action movie.
From Game of Thrones. Okay, I'll allow it.
I have to add Joffrey in there. He's terrible. Another guy that everybody does not like is the guy from Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix. I forgot his character's name though.
Well, he also plays the Joker too.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. If you can get cast as two seminal bad guys, that says something about who you are, I guess. I don't know that it's flattering either.
So I think both of them are probably really, really bad. And then who is somebody else? Who would you say?
Hans Gruber in Die Hard. He's pretty good. He's diabolical. I mean, the fiercest of all bad guys is Darth Vader, because if he were to fight the other bad guys, he wouldn't even have to be in physical contact. He wouldn't even have to be in the same room. We've seen him in those movies choke guys out by just pressing his thumb and index finger together. I find your lack of faith in the Force disturbing. I think the worst one is Lex Luthor. We celebrate this superhuman. He's not even human. Clark Kent, Superman, son of Jor-El. And who's his arch nemesis? A bald middle-aged guy? That's supposed to be scary. We're supposed to heap praise on this Superman for beating the bald-headed middle-aged guy. Come on, we can do better than that. All right, let's also talk about Caitlin Clark from Iowa, who just had the first 40-point triple-double in the history of the women's March Madness tournament. Now they're up against Dawn Staley's juggernaut, South Carolina Gamecocks, in the Final Four. Shazier, can Clark and Iowa overcome the odds and make it to the title game?
So based off of this year's March Madness, I think it's possible. But me and my wife were just talking about this last night. The one thing about South Carolina is that they have the most complete team. They have girls that's 6'7", 6'5". Then they have Cook, that's the point guard. I think they're just such a well-rounded team. And the way that Iowa plays is basically, it's Caitlin Clark or we die. And their team is very well-rounded, but it's just Caitlin has to drop 30 points, 40 points. And even versus the best squad, she can still do that because she's that great of an athlete. I think for them to do it, somebody else is going to have to step up. Caitlin's still going to probably drop 30 points, but somebody else is going to have to step up and really prove that Iowa is good enough to win a national championship, because the way they play basketball, it's really tough to beat people consistently like that when you just need Caitlin, Kobe, Jordan to drop 30, 40 points consistently. But hey, we've seen those teams win when Jordan has to drop 30, 40, 50 points to win a championship. So they have a Jordan-like player on their team. And I'm not calling Caitlin Clark Jordan, but the way they're asking her to play is very Kobe-like, Jordan-like. And if she can play like that every single game not every single game, if she can play like that one more game in this tournament, hey, that's all they need for them to get to the national championship. So, but it's going to be hard. Don Staley is teaching this team how to play great basketball. And, you know, they have Boston, they have Cook, they have a lot of just weapons all over the court. And you're not just running into, you know, those two great players. You still have other great players that's on the court that can drop 20 or 30 points as well. So to me, I think, you know, I was just going to have to do a good job of forcing the ball on the perimeter versus South Carolina. And, you know, South Carolina going to have to be missing some shots. But if they can't do that, I think South Carolina's going to pull away.
It's a very interesting matchup based on where women's college basketball now is. The juggernaut team versus this dominant individual. It really summons memories from matchups in March Madness from 30, 40 years ago in the men's side of things. In the meantime, I'm curious, black and gold is what Shazier roots for, but in the Big Ten, surely you're anti-Iowa. Is that confusing for your brain, Shazier?
I'm not really anti-Iowa. So when anybody plays Ohio State school, I'm pretty much against them when they're playing against Ohio State. But when they're not, and it's a Big Ten school versus everybody else, I'm pretty much cheering for the Big Ten.
Don't do this, Shazier.
Unless it is the team up north. I'm not cheering for the team up north, and I'm not cheering for Michigan State. But pretty much everybody else in the Big Ten, you know, I wish them best of luck, and, you know, that's kind of it is what it is.
So wait a second. So if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, but the Cincinnati Bengals go on to win the Super Bowl,
it's not like,
are you then saying like, hey, AFC North, we did it?
No. I'm talking about that's just college. Like my NFL rules are completely different. I'm not. When it comes to professional sports, I'm a one-team guy. Like, you know, I might want to, you know, versus the Eagles versus the Chiefs. You know, obviously the Eagles are in Pennsylvania. I was going for the Eagles, and it's not because, you know, I just wanted to see a good game, honestly. It was more of that than, you know, me liking the Chiefs because they're in the AFC. You know, it's not like that. I'm a Steeler guy. I'm rooting for the Steelers. I don't care about anybody else in the AFC North.
All right. You get a half point for that answer because you're correct about the pro ranks, but Big Ten, same rules should apply there. You want to see other teams do well? They're the bullies in the neighborhood. I don't want to see Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, or anyone else do well except for the Indiana Hoosiers, my alma mater.
That's why you guys never do well, because you don't wish well wishes on anybody else.
I can't hear you. I have all those basketball titles stuffed in my ears. Either way, that's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
And since we got a little bit of Wrestlemania on our mind, make sure to follow, rate, review the show wherever you're listening, and check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel, and make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the episode. See you all next week.
Was that your Scooby-Doo impression?
I was trying to sound like The Rock, but hey.
Close enough.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.